and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, in your package, I believe on the third page in, are the minutes of the April meeting prepared by Pat Nielsen. Make a motion that the meetings be approved, or are there any changes?
I approve.
I would just state that the changes that were sent to me were primarily grammatical and spelling, and they have been incorporated in the final.
Okay. Motion to approve?
I approve the minutes.
Okay.
I second.
Who's moved? Daryl. Oh, Daryl.
Okay. Are there any revisions or additions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have the Township Liaisons report moved to much deeper into the agenda if we could, perhaps above other topics.
Okay, you want to hold that till the end? Okay. All right. Consider it done. Okay, any other changes? I have just one minor change, and that was one of the items of project status. So we talked about some signs for the trails, so we can add that as well. All right, the next item is the Grosse Ile Nature Land Conservancy. Bird?
So on Sunday, April 22nd, the Conservancy had a very successful Earth Day event, and we had speakers for the adults speaking on the state of recycling in Michigan. There was a representative from a solar energy company. Someone spoke on the new coal tar ban in the township. So we had a variety of talks, and then we had activities for children. And coming up, so this weekend on Sunday, open house starts at the Gibraltar Bay unit of the Wildlife Refuge over on East River. So what that means is that the airport property is open from 1 to 4 on Sundays from now until the end of October. As you know, the Gibraltar Bay unit is open dawn to dusk every day of the year otherwise. Then Thursday, May 10th at 5 p.m. is the deadline for the high school photo contest. And so we encourage all high school students in the area to get outside and take photos. There's 3 categories of pictures, and details are at our website, ginlc.org. On Friday, May 11th at 8:30 p.m., there will be a frog survey at the Gibraltar Bay unit of the refuge, and everyone's invited to come out and learn about the different sounds of the frogs and how that relates to the temperatures. And reporting on frogs is very important. This is scientific data that's compiled because frogs are an indicator species that lets us know the health of our environment. And then the next day, Saturday, May 12th, at 9 a.m., the Kobiak Preserve on Thoroughfare and Bryomar Lane. There's going to be a stewardship event cleaning up that property. So we encourage all residents to come out and join us in these events.
Recreation is no report. We're still looking for a representative or liaison to come from the Rec Commission so that we can continue to have good communication between these two activities. I will personally call the chair of the Rec Commission and see if we can't get a liaison appointed between now and our next meeting. Beautification Committee, Pam?
We're planning to do planting at the new signboard that has the saluting naval officer at the entrance to the airport. And on May the 16th, a crew from the DPS and John Rathall, who chairs the Airport Memorial Committee, and Brian Medved who chairs the beautification committee, we're all going to meet there and do a kind of a stone circle and plant some flowers and have it blooming and in kind of patriotic colors for the coming Island Fest. So that's coming up this month, mid-month. And the four corners that we maintain, three of the four corners. The Garden Club does the southeast corner, and the beautification maintains the three other corners. They're blooming now with daffodils, so that's a sight, a nice sight that spring has finally arrived. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Pam. As far as the guest report from the Bike Path Commission, I'll get in touch with Mr. Pollock, and I'm going to get a copy of the minutes of the meetings, and so that we can include them as part of our package for the next meeting. And I'll give that to you, Pat, just for reference purposes. Okay? All right, there's no public representation, so we'll dispense with that activity. The next item is the project status. And school liaison, Bert, we're getting close, I think. Are we?
Right. I have a name of a student who's a member of the Grosedale High School Environmental Awareness Club. We just haven't been able to connect, so unfortunately he's not at the meeting tonight.
Expect to, in other words, everything goes right. We plan to have him here next week or next month.
I hope so.
Okay. Woody is not here this evening, so we'll dispense with the welcome letters. And just for those who may not be familiar, we do send welcome letters out to all residents who move to the island as part of a little welcome package that we send them. And we send them copies of our nature trail guides, which is a combined publication from both the Groseal Nature Land Conservancy and the Open Space Committee. So we'll look forward to Woody's report for next month. Another item that came up last month, and I did not get a chance to do it due to some scheduling issues that I had to deal with. We're going to be putting some signs on the trails to notify people that when, in other words, at the end of a trail, so that there's no confusion upon people as they're walking through the open spaces as to when the trail stops or when they will be walking on private property. And I'll have that done within the next week. We'll make some signs. How many should we? I think we should make up maybe 4 or 5. The question? About 5? Okay. All right, the next thing we're going to do is to review the open spaces by the overseers and give a slight report about what needs to be done to get the trails back into shape after this winter. And I'll start with the Centennial Farm.
Okay, on the Centennial Farm trails, we're underwater quite a few areas, 4 or 5 areas there, and they need to be filled with mulch, and I will contact somebody in regards to this and see if we get a figure for putting mulch in there and raising it so we're not walking through the water.
Yeah. Tom is ready and willing and able to do that.
To meet with me.
So he's send him an email, and you can handle it any way you wish in terms of, do you want to meet with him there and or send him an email? But
you want me to get a bid on it from him before he does any work?
Just get a price from him.
Yeah, I'll get a price and we'll go from there.
Whatever. But the thing of it is, when you decide, when you decide what has to be done, just tell them to go ahead and get it done.
Yeah, we won't be able to do it till it really dries out there, good midsummer,
Okay.
you know. But I'd like to have him see the trail now, you know, so he knows what he's up against.
Okay, just give a call. He'll next time he's over in the island, you two guys can hook up.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're talking about TNT?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought we were gonna try and have him address all the trails at once.
We are, but he's going to do one at a time. In other words, yeah. In other words, and that's so that we can have separate billings for it. In other words, there's not going to be. In other words, what he'll do is he'll work on the Centennial Farm Trail, and then he'll go to the Manchester Trail, and then he'll go right to the other trails. In other words, there's not going to be a lapse. There will not be a lapse between the time he finishes one trail and the time he begins the next. Now, if we're ready to do the Centennial Fund, the Manchester Trail, if it's in good enough shape, in other words, dried out to where he can get in there and do it first, that's fine.
It's very wet right now.
Okay.
Very wet.
Yeah. So it's almost impossible to do that.
And Tom said he's got a small dump truck too that he can back in there with and dump the mulch.
I've already talked to Tom about doing all the trails that have to be done, and I told him to contact. You will be contacting him, and Bert. I've already sent him an email about the photos that you made. What about the wildlife sanctuary?
We need to have mulch put down in there also. We have about 6 areas that are very, very wet. We had limited, I think there were only 2 ruts caused by wheeled vehicles. Only 2 pieces of litter on the whole trail. The trash cans need to be emptied. The wildflowers are starting to bloom, and when they get in full bloom, I'll take pictures of them and post them on the GI Connect. So, but is there a way that, one, we can be contacted when they're going to be spreading it, so we can make sure that they put it in the areas that we really want it in, or?
Well, why don't I just have him give him your emails that when he's ready to work, let's say on the wildlife sanctuary, he'll notify you, and this is, I'm going to be there at 8 o'clock Wednesday morning, so you can be there. And the same thing with the Manchester Trail, if you're going to be available. You need to work it out, you know.
Good.
And same thing for your area. And last but not least is that the Playscape. Pam, is that in pretty good shape?
Yeah, I inspected it last month, and it just had some low spots that needed some filling of the chips. It looked like deer had been running through the trail, and there were like deep hoof marks where they hit the trail.
Is it a lot of work that's required, or just minimal work?
Minimal.
Minimal work. Okay. Do you want somebody to come in there and do something in that area?
Yeah, it needs a light, not a heavy amount of chips, but just to fill in some low, very few low spots.
I will send him another email today or tomorrow, and give him, if I may, give him your representative email addresses. Have him contact when he's going to be there, so that you can be there. You can come to an agreement as to what day he'll be there, so that he can make sure that he does what needs to be done. Okay? I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah, if you could give me Tom's email, I could do that.
I will do that. Now I'll give you Tom's email, and then have you contact him. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, we've gone through this rather quickly, and the last item, and certainly not least, is the township report. Carl?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of matters. Number one, I had a chance to get an update from Township Manager Dale Ream regarding the status of a couple of our purchase projects. The first one is the access to the ferry trails, as they're known, from Ferry Road. Mr. Ream has indicated that he has attempted to contact the owner, homeowner. Homeowner had been in out of town in Florida for several months, and we are now in the process. Dale is drafting a letter with a firm number as to what he thinks and what Tim O'Donnell thinks would be a fair value for that property. That is expected to go out within the next several days. It is something that when he reviewed it with me, and Cliff, I think he also spoke to you about it, it seemed like it was a fair number for everybody involved. If you look at the savings for not having to go through a realtor and the commission that generates from that, 6 or 7%, seemed like a pretty fair number, and I think Dale's going to determine fairly quickly whether this is doable or whether there is a lack of interest on the part of the seller. But it's a fair number, and I think it will generate a response. So I look forward to coming to the commission in June and hopefully have a better feel for where we're going forward. He certainly understands the whole concept of the landscaping to set aside and keep it natural looking. It doesn't impinge on any of the local property, and the idea that it would be well landscaped to enhance that property as well as to enhance the neighboring property, make it a win-win for everybody. The question is whether or not we have a willing seller. And the number is fair, but I hope to come back to you in a month and let you know some good news. Second item, we have another project everybody is aware of. We have had one of the parties that is an owner indicate that they needed some time to think it over, to mull it over, and to consider what they want to do. All of the other parties are interested in selling. The question is, what does this one person want to do, and how do we respond? If they're looking for a carve-out of a portion of that property to protect their yard, we need to know that. We need to know what they want to do with the other people that are involved, and where we are going forward with that project is going to depend upon whether that nice person wants to go ahead and be involved. And I'm hopeful that they will come forward and say, hey, here's where we're at. I don't think that it is necessarily in our best interest right now to say anything else other than that project remains on the table and is moving forward, and we're awaiting a response. Third thing is I did not get a chance to look at the open space behind Ferry south of Island. We have 49, almost 50 acres there. For the reason, as Daryl and Pam have indicated, it was wet, and it was real wet. I had water in our backyard that was several inches deep, and I know that the runoff back there is bad. I've gone back there, and some places it's been knee-deep, so I did not get a chance to take a look at that. Fourth and last, I did receive a phone call from a citizen who said that they really enjoy walking the trail off of Meridian, just across from the middle school, but there seem to be some issues there about maybe the necessity for a trash barrel. To do something with that, and I'm hoping that we could put a barrel that would be easily accessible, perhaps at the beginning of the path, but something there that if somebody goes in and has a lunch or a pop or something, water, they can have a place to put that when they come out as opposed to dropping it. Litter has not seemed to be an issue with that barrel not being there right now, but I think the placement of a barrel would be good for the trail and certainly encourage good table manners with all the users. So if we could look into that, Cliff, I thought that was an excellent suggestion from the citizen. And that's my report.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Are there any other items that there are comments anybody wishes to make? We'll start with you.
Have we sent the letters out regarding encroachment onto the... No,
but that's on my list of things to do. Okay.
I did have a brief discussion with Tony Gray on that, indicating that now that we are into the spring season, we're going to see the evidence of the mowing and the trespass there. Hopefully that will not happen. But again, It's a matter of being a good neighbor and good table manners. Use your property as the township allows, and stay off of the township's open space property. It's not yours. You're a taxpayer, you're not an owner.
Is Tony, do you think does Tony need any additional assistance or help from us if it gets to the point where he has to send out a letter to an individual who is, grossly encroaching on open space property?
I did walk the property last fall and spoke to Tony about it. He is aware of the problem, and I think now that we're back into the spring season, it's going to be pretty easy for him to step forward. I will tell you, I was contacted by a citizen who recently received one of Tony's letters, and he knows how to write a good letter. And I looked at that and thought, well, this is brief, to the point. And frankly, anybody that can read and speak the English language should look at one of Tony's letters and understand the next step is you're looking at going to court. So my experience with another citizen was that Tony made it very clear that some of this stuff is not acceptable and some of it is flat out wrong. And what's unacceptable, stop doing, and what's wrong, you need to really think about what you're doing, because the next step is potentially the 33rd District Court. And I would support that, because either we use it, protect it, or we lose it. And my confidence in Mr. Gray is complete. I've even received a letter from Mr. Gray a number of years ago, and he made his point very well. So.
Oh, nothing more.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay. I have nothing. I have a number of things I have to do, and I will make every effort to take care of these items and get them done. And I'll also, one more thing, Pat has graciously prepared a certificate here for Leah Schelke to thank her for her service as liaison from the Rec Commission. I'll pass it around so that you take a look at it, and I'll personally be giving that to Leah in the near future. As soon as our paths cross, I'll make it a point to give it to her.
Very nice.
Mr. Chairman, I would indicate that with respect to that, and I think certainly it's with regret that we're receiving that. I've had the pleasure of working with Ms. Schelke on this and seeing the work that she does with respect to the Rec Commission as well. And she's just a great person. She works very hard. She's been a big part of this commission. She's been a big part of Rec. And I personally am going to miss her. I wish she would stay around for another couple of terms.
Let me give a copy of it, not copy of them.
I'd like to add that Leah contacted me and said that she will continue to help me on my little excursions, especially at the Golf and Country Club, checking out the trees to make sure that the red oak trees are not infected in any way.
Good.
So she's not totally deserting us.
You want to give that back, and then I can make sure that Pam and Darrell take a look at it, and I'll be giving that to her. I'll try to get it done this week. All right. If there's nothing else, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting stands adjourned. Thank you for viewing tonight, and you folks, thank you for coming. Appreciate it.